This is about the full moon, November 18th, and it's close to the Mauna Kea at 10:57 p.m., around 11 o'clock. So, as I said before, this full moon is also not very harmonious. There will be a lot of tensions. I have already talked about the Sabian symbols of where is the sun, and it's in the fourth house, the family house, equivalent to Cancer, and it's about a noisy military band playing. So there's going to be some saber rattling in the domain of the family, especially as there is Mars also in Scorpio and Mercury. And Scorpio is a very emotional sign, and the emotions run very, very deep. That's one part of the whole Scorpio mode, is that emotions run deep. It's the second water sign, and it denotes the swamp. It used to be an eagle, but unfortunately we have fallen into kind of into the abyss a little bit, to call it like that. So opposing the sun, which of course is happening on full moon, the moon is happening in Taurus, and the Sabian symbol for that is a Native American lady selling her beadwork and trinkets. And this is about how do we honor what we have to give to the world? Is it honored? And it's happening in the 10th house, which is equivalent to Capricorn. And here we have the domain of vocation, of mission, of profession, and there is the moon. And luckily I have heard some lecture from some other astrologer, which I normally don't like to do because I want to make my own mind. But she talked about a lot of influx from at this angle, at this degree of Taurus, from the Pleiades, and we need that. Otherwise, we have this big square here. And as I told you before, all red lines in a chart stand for friction. When it's opposition, it is like in your face. But when it's square, like we have here, squares, square from Jupiter to the Sun, for instance, and from Saturn to Mars, that's very, very, very frustrating. It's like, somebody is coming from the side and you don't even really notice it. And so there we have all this friction between Saturn in Aquarius, very, very serious, and it's hindering our go-getter, which is Mars. And so there may be some discussions in the family about how to proceed in protecting the land, because that's what Taurus is all about. It's the Earth herself, and here we have Uranus, which one day before the lunar eclipse will be in direct opposition to Mars. There will be a lot of friction, but we have to do it. The Earth is now, it doesn't, where Earth don't like what's happening with her, so there's a lot of upheaval, and we humans who are like her allies are going to feel it. But we have to still continue. Here, this little hook here, this little whatever you want to call it, that's the North Node. That is the karmic aim of the whole story, what's happening right now. And it's still in Gemini, wants to explain on an intellectual level. But very soon, because this point moves backwards, it's going into Taurus, and then it will be much more direct action for the Earth, around the Earth. We have Venus here in the fifth house, and the fifth house is equivalent to Leo. Here we have at the so-called Big Island of Hawaii, next to the Mauna Kea, close to the Mauna Kea. Here the whole is happening under the influence of Leo, as the sign rising. That's only for here. That's not for the rest of the world. Listen. And here we have a very, very good connection to the wounded healer, Chiron, who is still and for a long time will be in Aries, the first fire sign, and says healing has to be become an activity. We can't just wait and sit down and pray. We have to act. And this is backed up also by the serious, the very, 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 very serious Saturn. Saturn has been duped like a negative influence, but it's the old dark great 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 grandmother. It's the old female at the beginning of time who is quiet and just looks and is quite merciless also in its in the influence, not its in her influence of being in the law, and that is right now it's in Aquarius. So here we have this friction, but we also have through Venus support, because Venus is here. She is in Capricorn, a very, very serious sign. That's where actually Saturn belongs mostly into in Capricorn, the coldest, the hardest, the last Earth sign. And here she is, and she is at the verge of entering into the sixth house, which is the domain of service labor, of repetitive, unpleasant maintenance work. That's Virgo, equivalent to Virgo. And she is at the verge between the Leo domain of showing off, of being the queen, of this is the fifth house is the domain of art. It's also the domain of having love affairs and making children, as opposed to raising children, which belongs in the fourth house, but making children, that belongs in the fifth house. Making art, making children. So she is on the verge between showing off artistically and actually hard work, where Pluto is also in that domain of hard service work. And she's backing up quick changes in Earth. Development, protecting the Earth. So expect quite some upheaval, and well, whatever happens, it's going to get better, I promise.